Welcome, Supers, back to another Tank Tales Shark Tank interview. I have the Magic 5 that was here on season 13, episode. Oh no, I think it was episode 4. I'm pretty sure it was episode 4. And they reached out to come on the show, the Super Joe Pardo show, and give an interview. And I'm happy to oblige and talk about the Shark Tank, their Shark Tank experience and all that. So I have here, I need some super claps in, well, wherever you're sitting right now. If you're on the bus, if you're mowing the lawn, stop and give some super claps to Super Rasmus Barfred. Did I get it right?
It's very close actually.
Oh
It's
man.
yeah. Yeah,
How do I pronounce it?
it's Rasmus Barfred.
Rasmus.
Yeah,
Rasmus. Okay.
yeah.
And I particularly wanted to butcher the name because apparently I said it wrong in the video, which thanks for being able to look the other way on that. I'm pretty good at butchering people's names on the regular, Fresh Cuts Daily. And so for me, when I'm listening to it, I'm listening it at a slightly sped up pace. It's like 1.1x,
Mm.
and it's also, the audio is a little manipulated. So like when they said it, it sounded like I think Mark, if I remember correctly, it sounded like Mark said Ross, and I was like,
Yeah,
oh, it said Rasmus.
Rasmus. Yeah.
Rasmus. I need to put a Z there because that's
You
how.
need to remember the S's. Yeah, but
Yes.
no worries. I've ordered enough coffees at Starbucks to not really think too much about it anymore. But I'm actually at the point where I just put in my wife's name, Maria, because that's pretty easy. They do look funny at me, but makes it easier. Yeah.
Well, so I mean, so it goes, right? I mean, I think a lot of people have this issue, and I think it's more. It's weird how we've gone from like the 1930s, 20s, 30s, where it was like everybody wants to have this like the same kind of name, this, I don't want to say bland name, but very vanilla name, to now
Mm.
everybody's got to have a different name and a different way of saying it. And you want people to be able to find you on Google, or your kids on Google at some point. So it's like you got to have the most unique name. And,
Yeah.
and then everybody says it wrong forever and always because it's not Bill or Jill or, or Maria
Yeah.
or Joe.
Yeah, true. I think unfortunately I can't even say that it's a unique name. Back in Denmark, it's a very very common name. It's just a very
Oh,
Danish name. Um, so it's yeah, it's my parents didn't have a lot of international expectations on my behalf, so they just gave me a
oh.
very Danish name, I think. But
Oh, that's funny. But you are in America. Where are you located now?
well, right now I'm in Charlotte, where we have Charlotte, North Carolina, where we
North
have
Carolina. Yeah.
production. But I live up in Brooklyn.
Oh wow.
When we made the move, my my co-founder Bo, he moved to Charlotte, and he's the product guy and the tech guy. So that's why we have production down here. And my wife was like, "Well, if we're moving, then we go to New York." I was like, "Okay, then we go to New York." So that's why I'm up in Brooklyn. Yeah,
Ah, cool, cool. Well, I'm
yeah.
not too far. I'm just down 95, the Turnpike, as they
Ah,
say, here in South Jersey, Philadelphia area. So, not too far. Though I haven't actually been to Brooklyn. I've been to Manhattan tons and tons and tons of times,
mm,
but not.
yeah,
But I think maybe I've only driven through Brooklyn like one time, and it wasn't on purpose. It was.
yeah.
I think we got rerouted because of the. What's it called, the New York Marathon, and we went somewhere, I think in the I think I forget, we went to some museum, and I forget which museum it was, and it might have been in Brooklyn, but it might have been in the Bronx. I think it was in Brooklyn though, and yeah, I think that's like the only time I've ever been in Brooklyn.
Mm, yeah.
But next time I'm up that way, I will have to
Come
reach out and let you know.
come by and I'll give you. I'll buy a beer or coffee or something like that.
Oh,
You're
that'd be
very
awesome.
welcome.
That'd be awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, let's talk about the business pre Shark Tank.
Mm.
How did Shark Tank come into the picture for you guys?
Well, we obviously knew about Shark Tank, right? We have a Danish equivalent of the show back home, so and we knew that it came from Shark Tank, got inspired by that, so it was something that was on our radar. Um, but then in uh, I would say late May, early June, there were actually some producers on Shark Tank that reached out to us, and somehow they knew about the product and the company, and they encouraged us to apply. And then was like, okay, 100% we're gonna do it, right? Um, and then we were lucky to make it through the last screening rounds, and got accepted to come to LA and go on the show, do the recording. So it happened. It was we started this process. Yeah, I remember it as being late May. Um, yeah, um, yeah.
Wow, wow. I mean, that's I think and I've heard this story a couple of times from a few other people that have
Mm,
been on Shark Tank where they didn't apply. Actually, I don't know if I've interviewed anybody yet that has applied to be on the show. I think every person I've interviewed so far, got reached out to. I think I could be mistaken, but um, I think it goes to show you though that you never know who's paying attention, right? And who's
mm,
watching, who's looking, and why you need to be, bring your A game all of the time as much as you possibly can.
yeah.
Because you just don't know who's surfing the web, who's looking for something to write an article about, who's looking for somebody to star in, be on a pitch in Shark Tank or whatever, the next big documentary thing. You just don't know.
Mm, yeah.
So did that feel like validation for you guys because they reached out, or at this point because you guys what was it, 2019 you started, or 2018 you started?
It was we actually did our Kickstarter back in late 17,
Oh,
but
okay.
18 was kind of the first full year of operations. But yeah, it was a great validation point that someone who is behind the scenes on Shark Tank felt that, hey, this would be an interesting match. So that was great. And again, as I said, it made the decision very easy to spend time and energy on doing the applications. It's not just a flick of a button on a website. It's quite extensive, I would
I've heard
say.
it's like 600
Yeah,
pages or something insane.
it's. I don't know if it was 600, but there was a lot of pages and there was a lot of things to go through, which makes total sense. They need to verify that it's quality stuff that they get on the show. Um, uh, and we needed to submit like videos where they could see how it would be uh, on the TV and stuff like that. But it was, yeah, when they approached us, it was okay. We definitely need to do this. Um,
How did you guys go about fitting that into your daily routine of running the business? Because like I obviously I haven't been on Shark Tank
mm,
yet. But at some point, everyone I've talked to, it seems like it's an extensive process that if you really take it seriously, you really need to like watch as much of the show as you possibly can. But then you still got to craft a pitch. You still got to make it, go through it 1,000 times so you know it in your sleep.
yeah,
And like that can, to me, that seems like it would be very derailing to your day-to-day operations. How did you
yeah.
guys fit that in?
I think we are in a lucky position where our company has we around 20 employees. Um,
Mm.
so we everything is not dependent on me, Bo, the other guy who was on the show, or Niklas, our third co-founder, who is an equally big part of the company, who just couldn't be on because he was back in Denmark. So COVID didn't really allow
Mm.
that to happen. So we've been able to get extra help from our team members, to be honest. But I can imagine that if it had been back in 2018, it takes up a lot of bandwidth and focus to prepare for that, and yeah, a lot of energy. But again, I think it's also it's a good process as a founder. to really be pressured to deliver a pitch that is so concise that it will work and be captivating on 60, 90 seconds on television. When you're pitching in front of investors, it's the dynamic might be a little bit different. Not that we have done it so much with this company, but um, sometimes you can have a bit more time, or it's not that um, in the tank. It's if you mess it up, you really mess it up, and you have no second chance,
Everybody's
right?
gonna see it.
Yeah, but
It ain't the 20 people in the room or 100 people in the room.
exactly, yeah,
It's a few
and
million.
yeah, and it's like you have one go, and as soon as the door opens, you have one go, and you're done when the sharks ask you to leave, right? And no retakes. So it it required a lot more preparation, I think, but it helps you tune in on what are the key metrics and what is important and for your business and what is important to communicate. So you get forced to cut away a lot of fluff, and yeah, which I think is healthy for everyone. Um, yeah.
Well, yeah, it is, right? Because I mean, there is due diligence after the fact as well, right? So it's not
Mhm.
just,
Yeah.
showing up, get the handshake, and then like, okay, collect your check on the way out the door, and we'll be, our people will call your people, and it's
Yeah.
all good. But
Yeah.
so all right, so let's fast forward. So you got prepared. When did you go into film? Was it in June, July?
Late July. Late
Late
July.
July?
Yeah.
And did obviously, for anyone who doesn't know, obviously you guys don't know if your pitch is actually going to make it to air or not,
No.
which is to me is incredibly, I don't want to say frustrating, but like daunting, because you don't
Mhm.
know, do I ramp up? Do I not ramp up? Do I wait until,
Yeah.
because like it could air in like May or April of
Yeah.
next year, almost a year after you filmed.
Yeah. And that was I think that's a challenge for everyone. It was a really big challenge for us because it is a made to measure product and made by order, right? So for us it's not just ramping the inventory side of it, but it's also ramping up the actual operation to handle a potential spike in sale at a point in time, right? Um, so we actually, as soon as we knew that we went into film, we started to prepare our inventory for it. With all the logistics issues right now, we decided to build up inventory, and then just say, okay, if we end up not being aired and going on, then we can use that inventory for Black Friday or for later, or we'll have it for next year, right?
Yeah.
There's no expiration date on our product, which is a benefit.
Hmm.
So we just, yeah, we just ramped up, and then we have an amazing team that were like, yes, we're all hands on deck. We'll come. We'll do 16 hours shifts if it's needed. So we have been able to follow up with the demand that we've seen since Friday, and everything is in a good place. So that's wonderful.
Ding
Yeah,
ding. I love it. I love
thank
it.
you. Yeah,
Uh,
um,
team is so important. I mean, I think that a lot of people don't like underestimate the importance of having a
mm,
team that they can trust, a team that's trained,
yeah,
and that is trustworthy.
mm,
Through changes as things, because that's the other thing is like, especially as a young company, your process
mm,
is probably changing, maybe not on the daily, but probably every couple of weeks to every couple of months. There's,
mm,
new things that are being introduced, new problems arise, and things, new processes have to be rolled out, and have a team that you can depend on to be like, hey, like all hands on deck, we're getting 16 hours, it's whatever, like we're gonna make it work and get through this. Like that is a
yeah.
team to go to battle with for sure.
Exactly, and we're super lucky to have that team. We really are. They all have that growth mindset that is really required. I've had corporate jobs in the past, and it's just a fundamentally different animal to handle and work with, right? So you can be very very talented, but it's very few people that have that growth mindset and that really want to go for it. I think we are super lucky that a lot of our employees are former athletes, uh, professional triathletes, professional swimmers. So and they all understand the process of development and growth, that you don't become as Kendall or some of our other swimmers and the team national team swimmers. Uh, if you don't grind, don't work hard, there's like no shortcuts, right? And it's all about focusing on the next target, getting through that, and then continue. Um, and yeah, so I think some things are easier for us because our employees all have that mindset. Yeah.
Mm. And
Yeah.
that that's a testament to you guys for finding those right people, right? And
Mm.
treating those people right so that they
Mm.
want to be there and they believe in the product and they believe in the what you're trying to accomplish. And
Mm.
um and in the customer base, right? And that it makes a difference when people have a better experience swimming. They will swim more. They will be
Mm.
healthier. They will,
Mm.
it has a repercussion.
Yeah.
There is like a ripple effect, even with something as some people might not realize, like goggles. Like, oh well,
Yeah.
it's just I can buy goggles at the dollar store,
Mm.
and then throw
And we
goggles
can.
on. Like,
Yeah.
sure, but or is that going to give you a great experience where you stay in the pool longer, lose,
Yeah.
fueling a few more calories out the
Mm.
window, out the window, and like making something happen? No, probably not.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. And I think that is, from a vision point of view, I think one of the benefits of what we're doing is that it's a very clearly defined thing that we're trying to achieve and working on right now. We're not trying to build the next Facebook or really take over the entire world. We want to make sure that the guys that like to swim, that they get a better swimming experience. It's pretty simple, right? And we all like, in our team, we all like to swim. And every day when we are gathered here in Charlotte, it's like, okay, when do we have our hour in the pool, right? Today it's going to be late because we are doing things in the production office. Yesterday, half the team went out 11 a.m. And had an hour in the water, right? We really like to swim. That's why we came up with the idea, and that's why we want to work on getting this product out, right? And we believe that we can give a better swimming experience to those guys who compete at a national level, but also someone like my mom who swim once per week for 40 minutes. And she might call me after this, but I think she mainly does it to go to the sauna afterwards and talk with her girlfriends, right? But she still needs goggles, right? And why don't give her a better swimming experience while she's in the water, and make sure that she doesn't have big red rings around her eyes afterwards? So it's we all care about that and wanna give people better swimming experience. That's how simple it is.
So you said something there that stuck out, and I'm curious if it's the startup mentality,
Mm.
or I guess new generation of business mentality versus a European take on business. We went out and we all swam, at 11 o'clock. We're all going out and we're going to go swimming. Is that
Yeah.
is do you attribute that more to just like knowing your team, knowing that you're a startup and that you want to keep oh, we have a ping pong table in our break room kind of
Mm. Yeah.
thing versus a European take where I mean obviously Europeans take way more vacations and longer vacations than we do here in America, to a fault really,
Mm.
on our part here in America. And is that would you what would you attribute that mindset of like, let's all go swimming at 11 o'clock in the morning?
I don't know if it's American versus European versus Danish, but we think that our employees make better decisions and work more efficiently, and those two things are highly correlated or highly connected, right? If they take care of themselves, and I think that's how simple it is, right? And um, it gives everyone in our team, we're used to being active, and the guys that do triathlon, they train a lot of hours, right? But um, I think there is without being too philosophical and too deep on that, um, I think a world with more sport and where people are active and have a healthy mind and healthy body, I think that's a better world, and I think it's also better employees. And I
Yeah.
think that's how simple it is, right? It doesn't mean that you can't work hard and we don't pressure each other. We certainly do, but I think yesterday is a great example of that, where half the team goes out for a quick swim in the middle of the day, but they stayed in the production until 11 p.m. at night, right? So one doesn't have to because you swim in the middle of the day doesn't mean that you're lazy. It just means that you prioritize to take that time for yourself, right? So yeah, I think that's really our view on it.
I mean I think it's a better take on it than the like those videos. I don't know if you've ever seen those videos where they're like, okay, we're gonna do yoga at the desk, and all these people in like cubicles stand up at their cubicles and they're all doing yoga in their little cubicles
Yeah,
from like the 80s and early 90s,
yeah,
or not yoga but calisthenics or something to that effect, just getting up out of your seat. But no, there's a lot to be said there for that, and I think the the pressure that you mentioned. I mean, I think that just comes naturally from people that are in sports. You know, like you're on. I
mm,
mean, I personally have never been on a swim team, but I've been on other teams, and there's
mm,
a camaraderie that comes with the pressure that we push each other to do better and things of
mm,
that nature. And I think having that. I think the key word here is culture, and
mm.
I think that you guys sound like you're really crushing it there as far as keeping everybody, putting the right people in the right place with the right culture,
Yeah.
and making it so that everybody can succeed at a great rate.
Yeah, 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 exactly. I think our job is easier because most of our guys we really enjoy being active, right? Where uh, in that way we have a pretty homogeneous workforce or
Mm.
team. So that makes it easier to point at one thing where everyone is like, yes, let's go swim. That would be great, right? It probably wouldn't be the case if you were in any other company. But yeah,
No, I love it. Speaking of swim, you
yeah.
got to swim into the Shark Tank. So talk to me about how you were feeling as you're walking down the aisle, standing there with people staring at you,
Yeah.
and we'll go from there.
It was very crazy. It really was. It was way bigger than I had expected. I don't know what I think I had expected like a studio, and then one of the back studios was Shark Tank, and they did the news in the other room. But it was a completely different animal. It was in the Sony production village, big hangar, tons of people on set. I don't know how many, but a lot. Um, and it was just like this checkpoint, that checkpoint, and it was a very, very streamlined and professional process. We really felt that they took care of us. They tried to put us up for success. They had uh, that was our feeling all the way through the process. Um, and then standing in front of the doors and waiting for the doors to open, go down the aisle, it was the um, not the nerves, but the excitement was really building, right? Um, so I think it was we were we were wowed by it. We really were. Um, yeah, and yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that it was just overwhelming, to be honest.
I can imagine. I mean, the set that they're on is big. It's bigger than it used to be. They've expanded it, like seats up in like some kind of like loft thing. That's like, does anybody sit up there? I don't even. Is it just for the? I don't know if it's just for the look or whatever, but it's just
Mm,
it's when you watch other Shark Tanks from other countries, they all feel like so small in comparison. Even just watching, I'm going back and watching season 3, and watching, they're all sitting on top of each other,
mm,
and it just seems like it seems like a much smaller room versus like the grand scale of the set that they've built for the show
yeah,
that's there now. And I mean, I think even once the pandemic subsides, like they might put the chairs a little bit closer, but I feel like it pretty much is the way it probably will be going forward because of
mm,
it gives such a grand scale of what the show is.
yeah. I think actually on the set, it was when we were in there and started the pitch and it was going back and forth. Uh, that felt comfortable. It was actually nice to have a little bit of distance, and you could like navigate between the sharks. And um, I didn't have the feeling that there were any like spectators or anything on top, if there are any like seat rows and everything. I don't think there was. So I think the atmosphere, the studio in itself felt really good. It
Mm.
was more all the backstage things that were felt like being on a film set. That was overwhelming, but in a positive way. But really like, wow, this is a big production. This is really something.
It
Yeah.
it is. How long was your pitch when you were out there on the floor? Do you
So
recall?
I think we pitched. I think the pitch was like 60 to 90 seconds. The pre-scripted ones.
Oh no, I meant like
Um,
your whole like were you out
ah,
there for an
okay.
hour or 45
I think
minutes or an hour and a half?
50 or 55 minutes.
55. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that was it. Um, but yeah, but it was a crazy experience to go through it. And when we were done with the pitch and they started to laugh about the valuation, and then trying to take it on from there. Um, but it went so quick. It was like right back to the study days or the school days when you had a big exam. It was super super intensive, and your head was spinning and looking around and try to digest and synthesize whatever came in. And then suddenly it was over. Yeah. Um, yeah.
So obviously the Sharks like all started going in at it. And but I think the thing that I'm most curious about is how did you not mention the robotics end of it till like what seemed like forever into the pitch?
So we actually, I think that's much how they have edited it. Because what happened
Mm.
right after the pit, our 60-second pitch, and right after the ask, robot laughs, and Dave's like, "Whoa, that's deep." Um, we anticipated that would be the reaction, right? So we had goggles on their tables
Mhm.
in front of them, and we had two different pairs where where it was very visible what is custom with the product and why they're different to normal goggles. So I jumped in right after the pitch and walked them through in detail what is different with this goggle versus normal one size fits all goggles. And that really quickly got them to um, okay, there's a lot of technology involved. They use robotics. The core competence of this company is the software and the technology side, and the result of it is the goggles. But the core of this is actually the technology behind it. So I think that was more the way the show was edited. We had that
Okay.
discussion pretty quickly, and then when that was kind of established that okay, there's a big tech component, then we dived into the goggles, dived into the product, how we made it, how we came up with the idea that
So
they
they
could
put that first, and that yes,
yes,
they did like a okay.
yeah,
I mean, that's one of
exactly,
the things being an editor myself, like telling the story, you figure out like what's the story, and then you figure out how to work backwards from that
yeah,
to tell that story.
yeah,
And yeah, so
exactly,
sometimes it does come out like, oh, how the heck did it take this long to come up with like the thing that makes the valuation make sense, which
yeah,
your valuation was 500,000 for 2.5%, which so I mean some people it depends. There's a lot of factors that go into figuring that out. My question to
Hmm.
you is how did you guys come up with that number? Because I know Shark Tank apparently doesn't offer any help in that department.
No, I think that was the number that us as co-founders were comfortable with going in there. It was a number that um, uh, that we can justify. We think from a when we look at the business that we have right now with the swimming goggles, the traction, the performance of that business, but then also looking into what do we think that business will look like in the future, our position in the swimming goggle market. And then of course factoring in the technology component to it, right? Um,
Yeah.
but I think that discussion is that's a discussion that has no clear answers to it, right? And there's no ultimate truth, like any other valuation of a tech company. Um, when you talk about future potential, so I think it was about finding a number that we were confident with and um, that we believed in. If we had a number that we were not comfortable with, then we wouldn't have been able to have the right discussions in the tank with the sharks. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, you don't want to, you wouldn't want to price it too low, especially depending on how much you've already invested into getting to where you're at,
Mm.
and if you
Yeah.
have investors that have already bought in. I mean,
Mm.
obviously the sharks get some kind of discount, but
Mm.
it's still you have to weigh in all those factors, and it's definitely tricky to figure out, because I think a lot of times people also get like hung up on wanting a big number, but not wanting to give up a whole lot of percentage for that number when they might not quite justify for
Yeah.
that percentage that they're looking to get. That percentage,
Mm.
the percentage might make sense, but the money doesn't make sense, and that's where
Yeah.
it's like, oh well, how do I not give up 50% of my business for that amount of money that I have to walk out of here with?
Yeah.
Um, definitely tricky. So you get a deal
Mm.
in the tank, and that deal, it kind of came. What seemed rapid fire probably was a bit longer than it actually took. On the airing of the TV show,
Mm.
but another shark came in on the deal. Are you able to talk about that at all?
Yeah. 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 We can. We can.
Okay, so
So
go ahead then.
okay. So if I should just recap what happened on the show and our experience of that is that we talk a lot about the product, the goggles with the shark, the market, the kind of audience that we are targeting, like that recreational swimmer up to the top swimmers. And then after, I would say 10 minutes, Mark Cuban puts in the first offer. So he's the first guy who puts down an offer. And then I would say it's a little bit difficult, to be honest, to remember the exact timing because it was
that's
so
why
intense on the
That's
show,
why
right?
I wasn't trying to break it down. I mean, I have
Yeah.
it here written down in my notes for anybody who
Okay.
watches my show. I do have a
Yeah.
notepad, but I
Yeah.
don't write it. It's not always like one, two, three, four. Maybe I should start doing it like that. But
Yeah.
I mean, Kevin offered a deal, right?
Yes. Kevin and
Uh,
Kevin and the guest shark Nira went together and offered a deal that was uh,
500K for
a
7.5%.
mix of debt financing and equity. So or
That's right. Oh
not a
yeah, I
debt
have that
but
here.
a royalty deal, right?
Five
Um,
hundred thousand with $3 royalty, which
yeah.
I thought was, uh, you know, uh, if you had no other offers and you really wanted to work with them, it's not the end of the world. But $3, when your cost of what did you have? Yeah, you had a $24 cost plus $24 cost of acquisition, which
Mm,
obviously that's going to go down being on Shark
yeah.
Tank, but that could also be skewed because Shark Tank's not for. I mean, it does re-air, but it's not forever and
Yeah.
always.
I think what it was an offer that we didn't feel competitive, right? Because the rate that we would pay that offer back with gave an effective interest that was just way too high compared to what we were interested in. They were surely competitive on the equity amount that they got down to in the end, but we're just not interested in that type of deal. Um, um, but I think our experience at a high level was that offers came on the table from all the sharks within 20-25 minutes, and then the show kind of changed atmosphere where or the experience changed a bit where the sharks started going after each other and not so much challenging us on the business and the potential, um, and talking about which of the sharks would be the best shark for us in terms of the current business we have and the technology. So who could help us on both parts, right? Who could help us reach more swimmers and who could help us with the technology down the line. um, and and then at the end, we've I think we've gotten 2 offers from all except for Laurie. I think, if I don't remember
Well, it
wrong.
was Robert and
Uh,
Lori.
yeah,
I have it written down that for like a short period of time they were in on a deal, and then Robert
yes,
cut her
yes,
out.
yeah, exactly. And then at the then Mark actually says, "Hey guys, you've gotten offers from everyone." Uh, they didn't give us a break, but they would give us that situation where we could discuss internally and come up with a counter offer. We hadn't made any counter offer at this point in time. We'd just been
Mm.
quiet, and let them talk. And then then we were about to leave the tank, and then Robert comes forward with his offer, and really like, hey, I don't want to let this go. This is my offer, right? And then Bo and I looked at each other. We didn't even remember that we exchanged any words, but was just like, that's a win-win deal. Like, he was one of our favorite sharks coming in, um, so we accepted that deal on the spot, and that felt really really good. Then after the airing, Mark Cuban, or not after the airing, but after the show, Mark Cuban approached Robert and suggested that they should split it. So the situation is that we have both Mark and Robert on the deal, the same deal. So they've just split the five. So they share the 1,500,000 each, and then they get half the equity.
It was
So
6.5% equity, if I
yeah,
wrote it down correctly. Yeah.
yes, yes. So 3.25 for each of them for 500. And for us, we went into the shark with Robert and Mark as our favorite ones. But where we thought that they would be the best sharks for us. So
Hmm.
leaving the shark with a deal with those 2 guys um, was amazing. I would say we also got really good feedback from the rest of the sharks. Both Mr. Wonderful, Laurie, I think they had some great perspectives, really really good perspectives. We were also very impressed with Nirav, the guest shark. He We had researched him a bit before we went into the show, uh, but yeah, he really came off in a really, really good way, and we were super impressed with him too. Um,
Yeah, I got the humble opinion of him. He seems very down to earth and wanting
yes,
to like actively help people rather than just there for for to have a good time and the prestige, I guess, would be the term,
yeah,
to put it that way.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day, I mean, you only gave up 1 extra percent, which is absolute like, for all the things going back. And Mark's original offer was 500,000 for 7.5%. So congratulations on beating Mark Cuban
Thank you.
at his own game. And congratulations to Robert for beating everybody at their own
Yeah.
game as well, especially Mark's game as well. That is awesome. So you came off the show, and I mean, you guys felt. How did you feel when you got out of the tank there?
So, just overly excited. It really was. Did this just happen? Right? We had prepared for all sorts of scenarios when we went into the show. Going out of that with that experience in the pocket was just, whoa, that was amazing. I think that was a different type of validation point that we had than what we have experienced so far. We haven't spent a lot of time and energy on investors and such. We've been very fortunate that we've had some support around us from the early days, from friends that were able to help us for the first years. And then the other investor we have was a customer that reached out to us and was like, hey, I really love the product. I don't want to do this, but if you need any help, let me know. So it was an amazing experience to be pitching in front of professional investors for really the first time, and then all of them being so excited about what we have built. Um, that was like, wow, that was really really amazing. Yeah, so I think we were just yeah, it felt too good to be true, to be honest. Yeah,
Oh, I love it. I love it. So it looked like you guys had a fun launch party there.
Yeah.
I guess was that at your office at your shop?
It was actually at a place right on the other side of the street for the office. We are so busy, or we anticipated to be really busy after air, and we hoped for it, and we are. So, which is great, and super grateful for that. But we wanted to have it separate from our office. Our office with the robots and the machinery we have is quite high tech, so it's not. We can show people, and we want to show people, but it's not the type of production setup where you want people to fiddle with it and be too
You don't want
close.
you're saying you don't need drunk people like hanging off of it or doing things that,
That's
if it's
an
under
yeah,
supervised is
yeah,
gonna potentially happen. Yeah, I don't blame you.
exactly. Yeah. So
I don't blame you.
yeah. So yeah. So we had it right on the other side of the street. It's a great area of Charlotte. There's some breweries, so we just rented an event space, and they were super kind to us as well. And we're working with the local school here, Queen's University. Uh, so their triathlon team, a lot of the guys from the school were here. We had employees from that team, interns, and the employees plus ones, and then just a bit of press and yeah, stakeholders. So we were around 7,500 people, and it was an amazing way to celebrate it. Yeah,
That's awesome. That is awesome. And I know the swimming community is super tight knit. So that I somebody was saying that there was parties in other parts of the world to watch parties for this.
yeah. We
Is that
actually
was
have
that true?
yeah,
That you know
we
of?
there's some back in Denmark that was celebrated, but that was honest that's families, right? But we have some club partnerships with like triathlon clubs and swim clubs, where we partner up with them and work with them in more in more partnership manner. Um, and some of those clubs had viewing parties where the team members saw it after practice or something. That was amazing. That was
That
super super
is
nice. Yeah,
I love it. So,
yeah.
have you been able to get to work with Robert and Mark yet, or are you guys still hammering out details?
We're still hammering out details, but they have been very very helpful. They only seem like they have the very best interest, and they're just like, hey, this is going to be massive. How can we help? Let us know what you have done to prepare and come up with feedback and input, and yeah, so super good experience so far.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. I mean, I've heard Dino Don. If you haven't watched that interview, you should totally go. Maybe I'll link that one at the end of this video. But he said he's like, oh, I send Mark emails at like 4 or 5 in the morning, and he gets back to me in like less than
yeah,
10 minutes with
yeah.
replies, and it's like, wow, like what. I almost wonder if it's the opposite effect. Like people, like you get to a certain point, like nobody emails me. You get to a point where it's like everybody starts emailing you, but then you get to this point of like next level, like bigness that like people don't email you or send you
Hmm.
as emails as often because they're like, well, I don't want to bother him. Like obviously he's busy,
Yeah,
and meanwhile he's just sitting there like twiddling his thumbs at like 4:30 in the morning while waiting for I don't know his toast to be made or something.
yeah. I think I got a really really good advice uh, from from our previous or our earlier investor, or she's still the investor. If you need help, ask busy people, right?
Yes.
And I think it's so true. And I've only heard good things about Mark in that regard, and from his team. That's only what I've experienced so far.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I've heard
Yeah,
that same saying, but for lazy people. I think Mark might have been the one that said, "Ask a lazy person because they'll figure out how to do it in the least amount of steps and get it done." And get it done,
yeah. Okay, that's
rather.
another way too. Yeah, yeah,
Well, I mean, there's a difference between lazy and procrastinating. Procrastinating
yeah.
will put it off to tomorrow, but a lazy person would
That's
just be like, "All right, how do I just get this like the fewest steps and get it done?"
yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh man. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here, Rasmus. I should say Super Rasmus. I hope I'm saying that right. Am I saying it right,
Yeah, no, it's
Rasmus?
good. It's
Okay.
super. It's really really good. Yeah, yeah. It's really good.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. Is there any how can everybody get in touch with you?
I think the best way is our Instagram account and on our website. And go check out the product, go check out the company. I think that's the best place. I think any questions for me, comment section on the video, maybe.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, that'd be great.
I'll be sure I responded to the other video, so I know where to find it. So I think that could be a good place to start.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Comment down below with anything, any questions that you have, and I'll be there. I'm always there for the most. Though I will say the comments section has been getting a little out of control as far as the amount of comments because the channel is growing very rapidly.
Yeah.
And I could see why other YouTubers that are much bigger than me, aren't as responsive to their comments because it just starts to grow, like take on a life of its own, and it's like as much as I want to be there and be like, oh yeah, 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 like answering this question, answering that question, appreciating everybody that's there.
Mm.
I could see, I can already see where like there's a horizon of like, yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna have to like set 15 minutes a day, and like those are the 15 minutes that I get to knock out as many comments as I
Mm.
possibly can.
Yeah.
But yeah, please comment down below, and yeah. Rasmus, is there any last thoughts you'd like to share before we wrap up here?
No, I encourage everyone to swim and get the best possible swimming experience by trying some of these guys out.
I know I will be, because the ones I have, they're not bad, but once you wear them for, like the ones I have, I got off Amazon. They had like highly reviewed, but like if I wear them for more than maybe 40 minutes, like my face feels like it's getting sucked off. It's yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I need the ones that
you
look
you
like
should
I'm at the
try
winter, the Summer Olympics.
try this and then for a month and go back to your old goggles and you'll be like, what has happened to me? Yeah. So
And it's so important because I'm trying to teach two little ones how to swim. So I pretty much have to keep them on, or else I'm getting splashed in the face and all this stuff. So long term goggle wearing is something that I need. So I'm looking forward to it. Super Rasmus, thank you again for coming. It is absolutely a pleasure. You're welcome back anytime. Congratulations to you and your team, and I'll talk to you soon.
sounds good. Thank you.
And thank
Okay.
you for watching this video. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you over in one of these videos over here. Take care.